My name is Jefferson from the Liberia Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church, and I serve as Human Rights Director, which is the Peace with Justice program of our church in Liberia, the West Africa Regional Conference, as well as member of the United Methodist Climate Justice Movement, as well as an Earth Keeper. I was trained by the Global Ministries, General Board of Global Ministries, and I also attended the Paris Conference in 2015, where we advocated for reparation. We also advocated for climate financing as well as loss and damage accountability. And those are moments that inspire me to come back to Liberia, West Africa, and began to do climate justice work in churches and our schools and local communities. And I'm happy and very excited to be on this team, to be given the opportunity to present to our bishop on the stewards of creation, um, especially when it comes to the Episcopal leadership for climate justice. Um, so I'm very excited. This is Liberia, um, and Liberia holds about 40 to 45% of rainforests in West Africa, and that is helping to protect biodiversity in the issue of sustainable environmental uh, format of our the continent of Africa and the entire world. So I took this picture. This is Sino County in the southeastern region of Liberia when I was there in 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago. The voice of the church. So the United Methodist Church in Liberia is the largest Christian denomination you can think about, and we are scattered. The picture I just showed was my visit in one of our regions in Liberia. We have three regions, and that is the southeastern region. And the voice of the church has been angering out in there. Uh, our covenant with God calls us to steward, protect, and defend God's creation and to advocate for policies rooted in justice and sustainability. I think that was one of the rationale behind the United Methodist Climate Justice Movement to organize this conference that will help our leaders, especially our bishops, to take action so that the prophetic voice of the church can be heard when it comes to holding corporation governments and other rich nations responsible for the climate crisis that humanity is faced with today. Water is one of the essential elements of human existence, and it has been polluted. Drought has been causing low uh, level table when it comes to accessibility of clean water in rural communities across Africa. And Liberia is no exception. Even right in Nigeria, in the Delta region and other places, the pollution of the the environment, the rivers and creeks that communities depended on centuries ago, our great grandparents, our ancestors, are no more useful when it comes to livelihood. The need for the church to act now in addressing this climate crisis is now because um, society continue to depend on the church in addressing these kinds of issues. So this picture is in Liberia, where the United Methodist Church is involved in provision of clean water, increasing access to potable water in poor communities. Some of those rivers that our ancestors depended on have been wiped out. Some of them have been polluted by corporate institutions and what have you, like Firestone and other agricultural industrialized companies. Today, our people do not have access to those waters. It is the church, to the UMC, that is providing water to its program called the Water for Life. Why these things are happening? Because of the climate crisis that have been created by all of us, one way or the other. But the greatest responsibility lies on rich countries. Let us look at the moral paradox, the disproportionate burden that it has caused. Um, the core climate injustice. Developing countries contribute less than 10% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Yet, they experience over 80% of severe climate casualties, including crop failures and economic displacement, as well as ancestral lands being destroyed and taken away by some of our people that continue to increase poverty, suffering, and hardship among our population. Those who contributed or contribute the least to global warming are forced to pay the highest price whatsoever, including suffering, like I talked about, catastrophic loss of their livelihoods. Animals are dying because of drought, no water to drink, no food. The vegetations and everywhere are being wiped out as a result of climate change and actions taken by other countries that are responsible for what is happening, and ancestral homelands have been wiped out. Climate justice in the global south. Frontlines and destruction. In developing countries across Africa, Asia, and the Pacific, climate change is not just a future threat that we talk about. It is a daily catastrophe. Is a daily catastrophe. Rising sea levels submerge coastal communities, while erratic monsoons destroy vital agriculture and other activities. As leaders of a global connectional church, our bishops must elevate the voice of frontline Methodists who have uh, who face displacement, starvation, and environmental racism and degradation. It is time that our leaders act. This is Sino County in southeastern Liberia. This place is specifically is called the Greenville City. It's been wiped out rapidly, not gradually, rapidly by sea erosion. The global responsibility gap. The metric, the dimension, and developed nations high emitters, developing nations low emitters that we talk about. So you see the gaps between those who are responsible and those who are contributing less, but those contributing less to greenhouse gas emission continue to feel the brunt of the climate crisis. That is why the church needs to wake up. We know the church, the UMC has been working for, working towards this in terms of coming up with policies. We have our social principles, which of course was drafted in 2020 and to 2024 that addresses these kinds of issues, but we need more holistic, more intentional action that our bishops can take to address this issue or these issues. Sorry. This is Sino County, like I just mentioned, and this is a project that has been projected and made proffered by the government of Liberia, which has to do with enhancing the resilience of vulnerable coastal communities in Sino County of Liberia. See, this Atlantic Ocean has been devastating. It has been terrorizing our coastal communities. This is just one project among thousands or hundreds of projects that talk about coastal defense system, getting rocks from mountains and hills to uh, put along the coastal belt so that the sea cannot continue taking away our coastal communities. I like this sentence. This phrase, it says that flaws, erosion, and climate change are washing away our future, and that is why our church, that is why our leaders must act now to save the future of the next generation. Call to action for United Methodist bishops. What are some of the things we need to do, bishops, based on our recommendations? Pastoral preaching and teaching. Let us proclaim the creation care as an essential element of the Wesleyan heritage and holy living and disciple making across all annual conferences when it comes to addressing the climate injustice and climate change situation that we find ourselves. Conference infrastructure. Appoint our bishops and episcopal leaders. They should appoint caretakers of God's creation, coordinators in every episcopal area, and implement local carbon footprint audits, as well as educating, creating the awareness and addressing the climate crisis that we face with. Civic and policy advocacy. Use episcopal moral authority to pressure governments for full funding of international and climate aid and just energy transition. We need that. We need that. Those civic action and policy advocacy, solidarity and investment, which is key. We should align our company's investment with green energy and work in direct partnership with climate impacted sisters and brothers in the global south. The issue of divestment from fossil fuels is key. We know fossil fuels for developed countries have been a driver for those developments, but it have had consequences negatively on the earth. We need to move away from it. But in developing countries that do not have the capacity, the capital, the technology needs to be addressed in terms of give uh, supporting them massively with the technology and all the different things needed that will help those developing countries not to use fossil fuels for the destruction of the earth. We have seen the consequences by developing countries. For such a time as this, will we answer God's call to defend Mother Earth and uphold climate justice? Will we? Yes, we must. We must. Let us lead the flock of Jesus Christ in healing creation and loving our global neighbors. I would like to end with this famous quote from campaigners of climate justice and climate change around the world. It says that we do not need change in we do not need climate change, but we need policy change. Thank you and God bless you.